before that, let's just wait a few seconds for the movement to cease. Okay, thank you very much for coming. I would like to sort of go on from a talk you probably heard on Wednesday by Mark Bachmann about the Fleurieu Swamp area and restoration efforts to go back to actually collect the water in the swamp areas again instead of draining these. I don't want to go into restoration, so I want to show you what LIDAR measurements can actually do and reveal of the landscape to help these restoration efforts, to help assessments of restoration before you go out and do restoration. So we, at Airborne Research Australia, we do use Airborne LIDAR and can collect high quality, high resolution aerial imagery of the landscape. And because we use very small aircraft, it's actually fairly cheap to acquire the data. So I want to give you an introduction of what I'm talking about, then some of the motivation, and talk a bit about airborne laser technique. Most of you probably know what it is, but I would like to sort of get you the layman's person explanation as well. So when we talk about swamps, we first have to recognize that South Australia is the driest state in the driest inhabited continent on Earth. It's only Antarctica which is drier, and this is not called inhabited. So rainfall in the Mount Lofty ranges and in the Fleurieu area as well is fairly significant for our water storage, for our water, the ability to have water enough. So the water resources, on the other hand, are under threat due to different sources. It could be urbanization, it can be pollution, because if we collect rainwater for our rainwater tanks, if we collect water in the dams or so, we need to make sure that it's not too polluted. And because it's under threat and precipitation changes on an annual basis, on a seasonal basis, and even if you go for longer terms on a long-term basis as well, we need to make sure that we can collect as much water as possible. The restoration of hydrological systems is therefore very important. And then last year we were asked by Nature Glenelg Trust, and Mark Bachmann talked about that in detail, to assess, to do LIDAR measurements for Glenshera Swamp, which is the Stipiturus Conservation Park on the Fleurieu Peninsula. So we did some remote we did some remote sensing of the area, and it's a fairly efficient way to do it because you don't have to go into the scrub. You don't have to go or walk through the mud areas of the swamp. You actually do it from a remote area, and you get a high detailed images of the area. So what was the motivation? The problem, or the advantage of LIDAR is that you can assess large areas in a fairly short time frame. You can get a lot of information out of the LIDARs. You get a three-dimensional view of the landscape. With vegetation, and I will show you later on, I can actually sort of take the landscape, take the vegetation away, and you see the underlying the terrain. As I said before, it's an efficient and safe way to gather data, and you don't need the people to move through the scrub and probably disturb the scrub as well. So what is airborne LIDAR? What is the technique in the first place? LIDAR is like this nice laser pointer here. You just put a laser into an area, and if I'm able to measure the time it takes from me sending out that LIDAR pulse and getting it back, then I can actually estimate or calculate the distance where my LIDAR points to. One of my favorite words here is that how fast is it? It's speed of light, but how fast is speed of light? Nobody can really imagine this. But if you think about it, it's 1 foot per nanosecond. What is a nanosecond? It's a very, very, very tiny bit, but 1 foot everyone knows. And this is probably 5 foot, 6 foot. So I'm not able to measure this, but the instrument we use, this is from Regal, this instrument can do these measurements 4,000 times a second, very fast, or 400,000 times a second. So again, here you can see the pulse is sent out, it reaches the ground, and you measure actually the time between the pulse sending out and the pulse coming back. If it hits a tree, a branch, it will come back earlier, and it's a so-called full waveform, multi-waves instrument. So it may hit, some pulses may hit the tree, other may hit the ground, and you can distinguish between those. So you get a full three-dimensional view of the whole area. You can even classify trees with this. The simple one is you've got a deciduous tree and it's standing on its own in the landscape. You get a signal like this. This is a surface signal. This is the tree. Because of the leaves, it actually doesn't let a lot of signals going through. You know it got its leaves on. Then the same tree without leaves, you get lots more signals from underneath because suddenly you can look through the tree. Conifers, they probably have a different structure. And then you got the, usually you do have multiple trees standing together, groups of trees. They again have a different structure. And on the date of the publication here, you can see it is developing. And we came a long way with Airborne LIDAR to work out what is going on. And you can really sort of now say this is this kind of tree, that kind of tree, and you can go into species probably even now. So that leads me from the LIDAR to what did we measure. So going over the swamp areas. We didn't measure the swamp hen, but so the swamps of the Fleurieu Peninsula, there are multiple ones. So the light blue colors, they all explain swampy areas. And Stipiturus Conservation Park, or this Glenshera Swamp, is around here. We did measure a couple more swamps at the same time. So like Swampy Creek over here has Brilla Swamps and St. Brieuc Swamps over here. So I concentrate mostly on this area here. We flew various tracks so that you get a on-ground the coverage of the whole area. Looking further into detail, this is an image overlay of Google Earth, of the Google Earth image of this Stipiturus Conservation Park, or the Glenshera Swamp, which is actually this area here. And there's no vegetation in the LIDAR image, but I would show you a couple of things more on. So what you can already see, if you look at the Google Earth image, you can see structure there, but you can't see the details. I would show you 3 examples here from that area. Look at the Glenshera Swamp. Again, a Google Earth image. You don't see much. You can see that there is some larger vegetation here, smaller vegetation here, the swamp area. If we look into more detail, you can see more details, but you still can't see much. This is the LIDAR image of it. So this is not sort of zoomed in as far as you can, but it shows you the same structure you could just see on the Google Earth image in detail. I have to tell you, this one here, this is an artifact of my laptop at home. It's not in the real image. The real image got full coverage. Unfortunately, my laptop seems to have a bit of an issue there. Okay, what now? So this is vegetation plus the terrain. We get all the parameters out there, but I can take the vegetation away because I got multiple signals. So this is how it looks like. And have you seen these drains before. Have you seen this on the image? The drain here, this is what Mark showed on Wednesday, where they focused on some of their measurements. So let's go back to this. You can't really see where where somebody had put some drains in. You can sort of imagine, yes, there's something going on because you've got different vegetation around these drains. This is what the experts know, but you can't see the drains. So if I take, with my LIDAR measurements, if I take the drains away, I can exactly see where these kinds are. And I don't need to send somebody in and fall into the drain to do my measurements. Another example, this is a bit further south of the swamp. And, okay, it looks like a road going through here. There's some vegetation. And now I can actually show you that there is much more into this. Look at that. Have you seen it? You can reveal structures underneath the vegetation. And if you look closer into this picture, and this is one important part, can you see the fence line which obviously was in there? It's grazed much more on this side. It's not grazed here. So you can even see these structures. And it would cost you a lot of people going in there to really investigate all the areas here, and you can reveal this with LIDAR. And the resolution of the LIDAR is less than 0.5 meter, so you can go down to very small details, actually. So going back again, nobody can tell me what's in there, but you can see this now. Another example, just a quick one, again, drains in there. And I can show you even more. This is a slice through that section. And what you can see here is you can see the tree. So you could work out what sort of tree this is. This is probably a eucalyptus tree. And I can't give you all this nice Latin words for it because then I stumble over it. You can get the tree structure, get high density, the leaves. See this all here. And you see the creek structure here. Going a bit faster, you can even reveal landscape, three-dimensional views of it. Like here, it goes over the crest. You've got a slope with trees on there. And this is the water tank. Okay, in our picture, it doesn't look like a water tank, but this is a water tank and a shed beside it. A dam in the area. This is with vegetation, without vegetation. That would be the Google Earth one. You can get architectural, you can put it in AutoCAD fairly easily. Some other examples, just to show you, this is actually from Fleurieu Swamp, the dam structure here, a house. But I have to get through it quickly to the summary, otherwise I run out of time. So it's an efficient way, and clean as well, because the aircraft we use don't pollute the atmosphere a lot. They're ecodemoners, they're motor gliders. They're very quiet, and you can assess large areas. You can resolve terrain features, which you can't see otherwise, not from the air, not from aerial photography. You have to go on ground otherwise. And you can resolve single or very small details with the vegetation. And you can actually even get engineering data out of this. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Cacilia.